No organization is responsible for the content of this video. All errors and omissions are the sole responsibility of myself, David Iverson. This video must not be your only source of information. Please attend official USSA educational opportunities. Please download official USSA educational materials. Okay, this video is about minutes of jury decisions without protests, and you should be generating these for every single race, whether it's a FIS race or whether it's a USSA race that's a scored race or a non-scored race. Every single race that you run should be generating one of these forms. And so I'm just going to, I'm not going to fill one in for you. I'm just going to read through one that I've already done and say a couple comments. Okay, so place, Burke Mountain, Vermont, country, USA, and well, we're going to use the same form for all events. Just get used to using the form and then just use it. Codex. Now, because I was running a Northern Vermont Council J4GS, I'm not going to go super detailed on all this stuff. I just want to make sure that everybody's covered. So I'm actually going to put two race codes in here. One for the girls and one for the boys. If I was doing a bigger event, I would have separate jury minutes for the boys and girls. But since I'm just doing a non-scored race, we're just going to run it all the way through the day with the same jury. We're just going to run one set of minutes. So it's a Northern Vermont Council J4GS. The date is the 28th day of February 2010. It is non-scored, male and female. Event is GS. And down here, my technical delegate was Ryan Markham. There's his USSA number. With voting right, yes. Andrew Keogh was the referee, yes. Jeff Surjane was the chief of race, and yes, voting with voting right, and so we just throw that in there, and this is just sort of the standard boilerplate. So these three are just kind of the standard, which should appear pretty much on every single jury minutes. At 8 o'clock, the first run course and competitor on-hill security has been inspected by the jury and found to be acceptable. The medical plan has been reviewed by the jury and found to be acceptable. 9 o'clock, a team captain's meeting was held where the following topics were covered: roll call, schedule, local rules, medical plan, start list. See attached minutes. So I'm going to do another video on team captain's meeting minutes for a non-scored or USSA race. And then 12:30, the second run course and competitor on-hill security has been inspected by the jury and found to be acceptable. So I have dates at which various things happened, and once again, following a theme, I know that this is just how it's going to work out for basically 90% of my races. So I do this ahead of time. I know who my chief of race and my ref and my TD are going to be before the day of the race, because I work hard to make sure that I get that information before the race happens. And I set everything up, and if it doesn't work out this way, then we change it. And finally, what I want to say about this form before I look at another form is I can get these signatures in the morning if the people don't mind. So if I'm running a FIS race, usually the coaches know what's going on, and they just kind of want to get out of there at the end of the day. They've got long drives. And so most of the time, if I have a set of just regular old vanilla jury minutes ready to go at 7:30 in the morning, then basically my referee and my chief of race are more than happy to just sign those jury minutes, because they know that if something goes wrong, we can always change them and we can always go back and redo them. But if things go well during the course of the day, well, then when the last racer goes, they've signed off on everything they need to sign off on, and they can just pack up their athletes, get in the van, and go. So do the work ahead, change it if you need to. So let's look at an example of something that we needed to change. So this is why you want to have jury minutes. So here I broke it out, but then this is a couple of years ago when I wasn't just sort of lumping them all into one jury minutes. But what we had is we had an event where about 15 minutes before the J4 girls were going to race, a snow squall came in and just completely wiped out visibility. And it's a J4 race, and parents at J4 races are very, very, very intense. So the parents were freaking out because they thought that we were going to run these little girls in whiteout conditions and that everybody was going to die and it was going to be a bad deal. But the thing is, we actually have professionals that know what they're doing. And so we actually had a jury constituted of these three people, Ryan Markham, Steve Utter, and Steve Burlack. And between the three of them, they've got lots of years of experience. And so they all met at the base of the lift. And at the base of the lift, there's also about half a dozen other coaches that were participating in the meeting that are not listed here, but they were present, and there was a good discussion. And so at the end of the discussion, due to inclement weather, the race was delayed by an hour and the start was lowered. And that was the decision that the jury made, and we went with it. And the rest of the day, the snow squall came through and visibility was fine, and we had a great day of racing. And so here is a record of that decision, and it was a good decision, and that decision was agreed to by these three people, and their agreement is represented by their three signatures. And so a lot of people, they don't want to sign something because they feel that they are opening themselves up to liability. But actually, what's happening here is you're reducing your personal liability. You're kind of spreading the liability amongst a group of people, and you're making it harder for people to go after you, because it wasn't just Ryan's decision, it wasn't Steve's decision, it wasn't this Steve's decision, it was all three of their decisions. And so the three of them had a rational discussion with the input of other coaches that were present, and at the end of that, they made a decision, they recorded that decision, they signed off on the record of that decision, so then if something happened afterwards, there's a good record that three professionals did their best to make a good decision in consultation with all the information that they had available. And that's going to help them out much better than if you don't have this document. And in general, we just want those discussions to happen. And if we have this form, that's going to sort of push those discussions in the right direction. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say about minutes of jury decisions without protests. You should be doing it for every single event that you run, period, end of story.